Hey guys, welcome to this episode of the Happy Knitting Podcast. My name is Julia and I'm coming to you from Germany. Today is Sunday the 25th of November 2018. I'm so glad that you're joining me today, and if you're watching this, it means that I've finally figured out how to podcast again because I've been recording this episode and this intro for like 10 times and I just forgot how to podcast. I don't know what's going on today. I'm feeling slightly rushed, which was not the idea for today anyhow, but that's what happens when your boyfriend goes away for the weekend and you have all these plans of things that you're going to do, including secret plans for his birthday, which is tomorrow. And then on Sunday he texts you and is coming back early. I mean, what was he thinking? So that's the reason why I am a little bit stressed out right now, and this podcasting thing isn't really working for me, but we'll just get through that now. Also, my voice is going and I don't really know why, but I have my best friend Coffee with me here today. So I'm hoping we'll get through this somehow. So if you're a new viewer, welcome to this insanity of a podcast. I really hope that you will still like it. Maybe you want to watch a less insane episode another time. But anyways, this is what the podcast is usually like, if you're being honest. If you're coming back, if you're a regular viewer of the podcast, welcome back. I really appreciate you guys that follow along with my knitting and craziness that comes with yarn and so on. So today we will talk about some knit-along news, finished objects, works in progress, and I have a ton of yarn to show you guys. Do you want to see it? You guys, Yarn Pig is in the house. This is full of yarn. And yeah, I don't know what happened there, but we'll talk about it because I have no yarn shame. But first of all, let's talk about knit-alongs. We have 2 knit-alongs which we are running on Ravelry in the Happy Knitting podcast group, which is always linked right underneath this video. First of all, we have the tea and ice cream socks knit-along, which is a knit-along for a pair of socks that I designed a couple of weeks ago. So feel free to jump in with that. That runs until the end. No, it doesn't. It runs until the middle of December 15th. But it is a super casual knit-along. So if you want to just cast on, just do that. There's no FO thread. There's just a chatter thread. So all you need to do is pick some yarn, cast on, show us what you're making, talk about, show us your yarn choices and all that. Like, just chatter along with us, and then I will draw prizes from the chatter thread on December 15th. The second knit-along is the Happy Sweater Along, which I am so excited about, and I was very happy to see that you guys are all for it and jumping in as well. The idea is to knit all the sweaters, all the garments, all the cardigans, adult garments, that is. It has already started. Apparently I wasn't super clear last week when I talked about it first. A couple of people wanted to cast on January 1st, and that is fine. You can cast on whenever you want. But officially the call has already started, so it will run until the end of January, because I think that should give everyone plenty of time to knit on some sweaters, maybe finish some old whips. Feel free to finish all the whips. You don't need to cast on anything new. But of course, for me, I will cast on all the things, so feel free to do that as well. But I'm thinking January 31st might be a good deadline to go with. I know a couple of people wanted a longer knit-along, and I'm always happy to extend it if it feels necessary. But I just don't like knit-alongs where sometimes they kind of drag on in the end. So that's what we're doing for now. I'm super excited about it, and a couple of people have already been posting in the group on Ravelry and making me buy yarn. So feel free to join in anytime, and I would love to see what sweaters you're making, maybe planning, just show us what you're doing. And in terms of the sweater knit-along, what I did the other day is I watched the last video on the Show Me Your Rhinebeck Sweater video by Christy Glass. She does that every year, and I hadn't watched the 2018 version. So if you need some inspiration for all the sweaters, just watch that video and you will be casting on everything. So just a little tip there for you. So that's what we're doing in terms of knit-alongs. I hope that you guys join in. All the details can be found in the group. So if you have any questions or you're not really sure how knit-alongs work, just go over there, and I'm sure if you don't find the information, some viewers as well as myself will help you. So with that, let's jump into some knitting. I have 2 finished objects this week, and since it's Kai's birthday tomorrow, I have finished his birthday socks. So these socks are knit out of yarn by Lismi Knits. This is in her Ulm base, which is a merino nylon sock yarn, and it is super, super soft. It is so soft that I'm not sure if it's a great sock yarn for a man who wears through his socks very, very quickly, but Kai loves soft yarns, so I think he will love these. I can't remember the colorway off the top of my head, very sorry about that. But it's these beautiful blues that are kind of pooling, but they're not super stripy, which I really like. And I just did a plain vanilla sock using 64 stitches on a 2.5 millimeter or US size 1.5 needle. So very plain socks, and I need to wrap them to give them to him tomorrow, and I'm pretty sure that he will love these. So very happy to have these done, and they didn't take very long, especially because now Kai has decided he likes a shorter leg. So that makes it a lot easier to knit him socks. So that is my first finished object. And then, of course, I'm sure lots of you have already spotted my second finished object, because I have finished my fern and feather sweater. You guys, I love this thing. I knit this entire sweater in 7 days. It was kind of ridiculous. I cast it on last Friday night, and I finished it the Friday night following. And I played an intense game of Yarn Chicken, which I'll talk about in a second. But first of all, this is the Fern and Feather sweater, lovingly called Fern and Sweater, because I can't pronounce things by me. And it is designed by Jennifer Steingass, who is Knit Love Wool on Instagram, and I think also on Ravelry. It's a beautiful, beautiful top-down pattern. This is my second time knitting it. The first time I gave the sweater to my sister because it ended up being too small for me. And that was with a dark moss green. So this feels like the softer, girlier version of that first one, and I love it. And this one I am not giving away. I'll try to stand up to show you guys. I basically only followed the yoke instruction and then did my own shaping. I made a white button band, rib I should say, as well as white cuffs on my sleeves, thanks to Yarn Chicken. But besides that, it is a full-size sweater and it fits me really, really well. I love doing my own shaping because by now I just kind of know what fit I like and what fit I need. And this one just turned out perfectly. So the yarn I used for this is a yarn from Norway. It is Sol, which is S-O-L by Hillesvåg. Again, actually maybe I have a tag here. Let's make a big mess and see if I can find the yarn tag. Because I've been switching all my sweaters around all of my, there we go, all of my bags. So now I'm much more professional at podcasting, showing you a ball band. This is the yarn that I used in the colors 400 and 407. It is a 100% Norwegian lamb's wool yarn, and it's supposed to be about a sport weight, even though for me personally I thought it felt or it knit up more like a DK or worsted. So I knit the sweater at a gauge of 18 to 19 stitches per 4 inches. And you guys, the Yarn Chicken, it was really funny. Last week I told you guys that I only had 2 skeins of the pink. So that's about 600 meters, I think. And you guys were so worried about me, and everyone was suggesting for me to buy another skein. And I would have if it weren't so hard to find this yarn in Germany. But I played Yarn Chicken and it worked out. So let's talk about the Yarn Chicken a little bit. Let's get this out of the way. I feel like there is Yarn Chicken and then there's Yarn Chicken. And the difference is that with what I think a lot of people call Yarn Chicken, what they do is they just knit and hope for the best. They just hope that the yarn will last and worry about it if it doesn't work out then. When I play Yarn Chicken, I do something different. I spend a lot of time weighing and calculating. So what I did is I knew I had 2 skeins of yarn. And by the way, this is all I had left over. Literally it. So what I did is I started with the body. And I knit, I think, 90 grams of the first skein into the body, which was about halfway down the body. Then left 10 grams so I could alternate the second skein in later, because I probably wouldn't have needed to, but you never know. And then I used 20 grams for each of the sleeves. So I knit 20 grams of yarn for each sleeve, which got me pretty much to the elbow here. Put those stitches on waste yarn, cut the yarn, and then knit more of the body. So I just made sure that I had a plan in terms of calculating how much yarn I needed for everything. So when it kind of became clear that I was going to have enough yarn or a little bit more yarn left over after finishing the body by doing a contrasting hem, I then again left another 20 grams of yarn to finish the sleeves. So by then I actually divided the remaining 20 something grams exactly into 2. And then I just knit until I had this much left of each skein on each sleeve. So I really maximized the yarn and I'm so happy with it. I know that this sort of knitting stresses some people out, but for me it is really, really satisfying to make the most of my yarn. Like, I don't have a whole lot, I really don't have anything left over, and that feels really, really great. It feels like I got everything I wanted out of the yarn, and yeah, it is a little bit more stressful, and you do maybe need to cut your yarns a couple more times in order to really, get the most out of your yarn. Because I didn't want a really super long sweater and then have tiny sleeves, or the other way around. But it was really, really worth it, and I just love the finished result. Also, this is a non-superwash yarn, so you don't need to weave in a ton of ends. You can just splice the ends together and keep knitting, so that's a really nice benefit in terms of weaving in all of the ends. This is my Fern and Feather. I love this thing. I love how the yarn turned out after washing. It has just gotten a little bit more woolly and I don't want to say fluffy. Fluffy isn't the right word, but it's got a really nice consistency. And what I did with this, which is what I by now almost do to every single one of my sweaters, is I blocked it. I washed it by hand using Eucalan. And then instead of wrapping it in a towel and squeezing out the water, which is what I used to do until a couple of months ago, I put it into my spin dryer. So my washing machine, I think most washing machines, you can either wash and then spin, or you can just spin. So what I do is now, after hand washing, I put my garments in the washing machine on a low spinning cycle. I use the 600 setting, which I'm thinking maybe is 600 turns in a minute, but that could just be made up. And what happens is, obviously, it gets all of the water out of your garment. So rather than squishing it all flat and squishing all the stitches together, the garment comes out really, really lofty. And I feel like that is so much better for my yarn, at least. I really like the result that I'm getting from that. And it meant that this dried super fast. So just a little tip for you there, and that is what I did. So I'm very, very happy with this. I love that I finally have a Fern and Feather sweater for myself. And I think this is going to be a really good sweater for colder days at home, or when we're going away over Christmas. I just think I'm going to live in this yarn. So that is the first sweater knit out of my Norway haul. I'm sad that I'm using the yarn, but I'm also really happy to be using the yarn. I feel like right now I'm knitting so many sweaters, and it feels really good to be productive. So that is it in terms of my finished objects, and I will move on to some works in progress. So just very, very quickly, because this sock is living on my desk, I'm still working on these stupid DPN socks. I don't know why I hate them. I just don't love them, even though they're perfectly fine. But I cast these on as plain socks when we went to Oslo about a month ago, I think. And I haven't really been working on them. What I've been doing with them is I have just left them on my desk, which is where I am right now, but that's also where I work from, obviously. So then what I do is I just knit a couple of rows when I am in a phone conference or something, which means I don't get a ton of progress done on it because I'm not really consciously working on them, but I've made it from like down near the heel to almost ready for the toe. So I'm making some progress at least. This is some Lana Grossa Meilenweit in their Burlington range, and colorway is 5408. So that is the label, which has seen better days. So that is one kind of whip that isn't really super active. Next up, I have resurrected my Emma yoke sweater. So this is the Emma yoke by Knit for Passion, who is Astrid Tüting. I've talked about this sweater and yarn plenty of times. It's a color work top-down pattern. You can find all the details in my project pages on Ravelry. And I've been on Body Island for a long time, and I still am. So I've just made some progress on the body. I need to try this on and figure out how long I want the body to be. This is going to be a relatively oversized sweater, so I think it's going to be super comfortable, even though I know my sister really wants it, but I'm not sure if she's going to get it. It might be for me, depending on how much or how well her Christmas sweater fits. Anyways, just working on the body, but I wanted to show you anyways because I just keep on rediscovering how beautiful this sweater is. It is super, super sheepy. I'm using a Danish yarn that doesn't have labels, which makes it really hard to talk about. It is by Garn und Salg, and the yarn is Black Hill wool. But again, details are in my project pages. And yeah, I tend to forget about the sweater because it's been on the needles for ages. But when I do work on it, I actually really enjoy it. So that is that, and I am using 3mm needles, which is also why this thing is taking forever, because that is a relatively tight gauge for me. So yeah, that is my Emma yoke, and I am still on my first skein of yarn. Isn't that crazy? This yarn is about the same as Holzgarn, I think, in terms of yardage, even though I think it's softer and loftier, even before washing, and after washing much more so. But yeah, I feel like I barely have used any of the yarn, which is insane. But yeah, that is my Emma yoke. I have too much stuff here. I'm feeling all constrained. Next up, let's start with the socks, even though I haven't really made any progress. Last week I was working on the toe for this one, so I picked it up last night and finished the toe, just to feel like I'm making progress. I finished the toe on the sock, and I have made a huge progress on the second sock. I really just wanted to get it cast on because I wanted it to be matching, and now that it is cast on, I can just work on these without really thinking about them. This yarn is by Mustache Yarn. It's her merino nylon sock yarn in the Kama Sutra colorway, which is this beautiful south striping. I just love the sock to death and can't wait to have these done. Yeah, I feel like I have so many whips right now, and a lot of them I'm not really working on, so it makes it a little bit harder to show you guys, and I don't want to keep boring you with the same stuff every week. But I have 2 new cast-ons. First up, of course, I had to cast on the Christmas Mystery Mittens by Ellie of Skandia. So they are the Yule Nut mittens, which I'm sure I'm not pronouncing correctly. If you don't want to see them, please look away because I have finished both Clue 1 and Clue 2, and I will now show them to you. So it is a Christmas mystery mitten, and you're supposed to use 3 colors, but you can also use 2, so that's what I'm doing. This yarn is yarn that I bought in Norway. It is by Rauma, and it has a needle stuck in it. Professional podcaster right here. It is also totally blowing out the camera. It is bright, but it's not like neon red. I'm not sure what my camera is doing here. This is their 2-ply Gammelserie, which is sort of like the high twist version of Fine. So it's a little bit more high twist, and I really like to use it for mittens. So these are the 2 colors that I chose. I actually chose these already in Norway with the intention of using those for my Christmas mittens. And now I'm going to show you. So this is where we are. This is the back of the mitten, and this is the front. How cute are they? How adorable are those mittens? So Ellie gives you, in the first clue, which is like this bottom part here, she gives you 3 options, which I think is really, really cool. So I chose the more traditional one, which is like a star flower. I think it's a star motif. The other ones are more like graphic motifs, but I wanted these to be super Norwegian and traditional, and like all the elements of kitschy color work in here. So I chose the star motif, and then yesterday the second clue came out, which is these trees. It came in a short and a longer version depending on your gauge, which of course I didn't measure, but I am using a smaller needle size, so I decided to go for the longer version because I already have quite big hands. So this is where I am. It is, I think, really, really beautiful. I really love it, and I also really love the back side of it. You can see here the thumb gusset. And yeah, I really enjoy these. I'm not sure if I kind of want to do them 2 at a time. So if I have the time, I will cast on the second one. But I'm not sure if I want to do the second one with a different cuff or do both of them with the same. So I'm also kind of waiting to see how it goes on, because right now I don't really know what I want to do. But I really love them. I'm really enjoying the color work, and doing the clues is really, really fun because I think I'm a relatively fast knitter. So this is just like, you sit down, you get the new clue, you just knit the clue up, and then you feel like you're finished and you have accomplished something, and they're relatively short clues. So I think that's really, really, really fun. So those are my Christmas mystery mittens. I'm using a 2.25mm US size 1 needle, which is 1 needle size down from what Ellie suggests, because I know that's what I need to get the gauge that I need. And these fit really, really well. I'm going to hit myself in the eye at some point, but you can just see they're perfect. And I love these. They're so Christmassy, and I love the bright red. I love doing something like this. And then yesterday I decided, very late at night, I decided to cast on a new sweater. And you guys, this sweater has been giving me some headaches, even though I think now I figured it out. So I had a couple of sweaters in mind that I've been wanting to knit for a while. And I went to my stash and immediately decided what yarn I was going to use, which is a kind of fade that I put together when I was at a yarn show in the beginning of the year. So these are 3 colors of a yarn that used to be called Das Regenbogenschaf, which has now changed her name. Maike the dyer has now changed the name to Scuderia Fine Yarns, I believe. So I will try to remember to put this on the screen. I really hope I remember. But this is her own logo, and I mentioned her before on the podcast. She's been a supporter of the podcast. And the yarn that I'm using from her is this amazing Pinta base. And I will tell you a little bit more about it. I think this is her second Pinta base, she said. So she used to have the same base but spun differently a couple of years ago and sent me a skein to test it. And then when I met her again this year, she said that this is a sort of new and improved version of the same yarn. And it is a 60% merino extra fine wool, 20% silk, and 20% rami yarn that is spun in Italy. It's a fingering weight yarn, and I'm not sure if you can tell, but it has this beautiful sheen to it. It's a really, really beautiful yarn, and I've been wanting to knit something with it for ages. And yes, it feels a lot softer than the first version of this yarn, which I used for a pair of socks, which I really like, but this feels a lot more luxurious. So I've got 3 colors of this. The light one is called Macchiato, and the other 2, I'm not sure in which is which, but these 2 are called Nixe, which is, hang on, they all say 603, so I'm not sure. It's called Nixe, and one is called Darling. And like I said, I will try to link into her shop, even though I'm not sponsored or affiliated or anything. I just really like her yarn. So back to topic. I wanted to knit a faded sweater, and one pattern that I have been looking at for ages is by a Finnish designer called Leni Hoy. And again, you may have heard about her on the podcast. She's a really cool designer. I think her aesthetic is one that I really, really like. And she had 2 sweaters that were kind of using different colors. One is more like a color block sweater, and one is more like a faded sweater. And that is the one that I chose, which is the Mai sweater. So it's spelled M-A-I. And it is a very, very relaxed top-down sweater, which you can either just use in one, just knit in one yarn, or you can use a fade or anything. So for me, I just thought it was a really fun sort of blank canvas to play around with and use this beautiful fade to kind of create a flowy, nice, slightly dressy top that I can just wear whenever, because it would be really easy to wear. So what did I do? It's a super simple sweater, right? Those are the ones that I always mess up. So I started by not swatching. I was like, that'll be fine. You need a gauge of 24 stitches per 10 centimeters. She suggests a 3.75 millimeter needle. I started with a 3.5 because my gauge is quite loose, and I figured it'll be fine. So I started, and it starts with a provisional cast on, which is always very fiddly to me. I get why you do it. I think it's a really smart technique. I just don't really enjoy it. So it was quite fiddly to start with, and I did the short rows and everything, and I was starting to get into a rhythm, and then I looked at it and was like, this thing looks very, very large. So I measured my gauge, and I'm getting a gauge of 20 stitches. So 4 stitches off, which of course explains why this thing was huge. So to try to decide whether I could fix this, I decided that I had to put the neckline in to see if you, by doing the neckline, which is an I-cord neckline, it would cinch up nicely and work out, or whether it was just still going to be huge and not really wearable. So I decided to rip out the provisional cast on and do my I-cord bind off, which you do at the top. You can see it here. But before I did that, I tried it on over my head. And what did I do? I accidentally ripped out my provisional cast on because I hadn't fixed it properly. So suddenly I had all these loose stockinette stitches, and they were unraveling, and this is what I did this morning. It was not fun. At this point, I was about ready to just throw the thing away and never look at it again. But I actually succeeded in picking up all of the stitches, figuring it all out. It kind of, at some point, I wasn't sure if it was going to work, but it did work. And then I used a smaller needle to do the actual I-cord bind off and finish the bind off. Tried it on, and it is perfect. So this took quite a bit of blood, sweat, and tears, but now I think I am on a good track. If I had just swatched beforehand, I could have avoided all of that. Also, I really need to get better at provisional cast-ons because they tend to do my head in. So maybe, I don't know, maybe it's just a thing of practice. But now I am done with the neckline. And now I can just, done with the short rows, and now I can just knit on the body of the sweater, and I'm thinking now it'll be super easy. Famous last words. But yeah, this is a super loose gauge, so it's very drapey. I think similar to like the pavement sweater, for example. So if this works out the way I want it to, I think it's going to be a really, really nice sweater. So yeah, that's where I am now. I'm not really sure if I'm going to be fading or if I think I might just be doing color blocking, because these are relatively solid yarns anyways. So by fading it, I will just be creating stripes. And I don't really know if I want stripes, so I may just do color blocking. I'm not quite sure yet. I will decide when I get to it, but I mean, this is a very similar color palette to what I'm wearing, except this is more shiny, and I think this is going to be more elegant to wear, possibly even to work. So I'm very excited about this as well. So that is my sweater by Leni Hoy. Like I said, using 3.5 millimeter needles, which is a US size 4. And I'm really enjoying this. And I think it's going to be really fun because I haven't really worked with a superwash. Is it a superwash? I'm pretty sure it's a superwash. It doesn't say it's a superwash. No, I'm confused. Anyways, what I'm trying to say is I've been working more with sort of like woolly, rustic yarns, which I love. Don't get me wrong, I love them. But it's been a while since I worked with a yarn like this for a sweater for myself. So I'm very happy about it, and I think this is going to be a really sort of fun, relaxing project to work on. And I'm very excited about it. So that is my sweater. I'm very sorry I can't really show you anything super interesting. I've done the short rows in the back, so the back is longer than the front, but it's all rolling, so it's very hard to show you. But I'm pretty sure next time I show this to you, unless I mess up again and need to rip this whole thing out, fingers crossed, next time it will look like a sweater. So yeah, that is that, and that is also it in terms of my active works in progress. So I will try to get rid of the mess that is right in front of me, and then let's talk about some acquisitions. Alright, I feel like I've got fluff up my nose. So, I don't know where to start, you guys. I'm embarrassed by my yarn purchases. But I feel like I've been knitting so many sweaters, and I've also been, using my stash, and also life is hard and you need yarn to get by, so I have been buying all the yarn. It all started with this. I was just browsing online shops, German yarn shops, as you do, and then I found this yarn on sale, like a really good sale. This is yarn that I've been wanting to try for ages. All the UK podcasters seem to be talking about it. This is Titus 4-ply by Bahram U. And I've never managed to get a hold of it, and this was like 50% off or something. So, and it is my color, right? Like, this is just absolutely my thing. So I decided to get myself 3 skeins of this yarn. It is a 70% British wool, 30% UK alpaca, and it is a blend of 50% Wensleydale long wool, 20% Blueface Leicester, and 30% alpaca, like I said. So this is a really interesting yarn. It is very different to your usual merino and all that you always get. It's got this beautiful sheen to it. I'm not sure if you can tell, and a slight halo because of the long wool. It's just beautiful, and this is going to be a stunning sweater. It would also be a stunning shawl, but you know me, I'm a sweater knitter all the way, so that's what it'll be. So I'm very, very excited about that. And if you're interested, I was going to show you, hang on, where is it? Where I got this, if you're in Germany and maybe looking, I'm not sure if it's still on sale, but this is the German online shop where I bought it from, in case you want to know. And because I was already buying yarn, and yarn doesn't like to travel alone, does it? I decided to also get another yarn that I've been wanting to get for ages, and that is Tukku wool. So Tukku wool is yarn from Finland. It's 100% Finnish wool, and it is supposed to be great for color work. It's again one of those woolly wools, and I've been wanting to try it for ages. So with my order, I decided to get a couple of skeins. So this is the Hoka colorway, which is colorway number 183. And this is the Au Bruno colorway, which is 181. They come in 50 gram skeins. This is the label if you're interested. And because my name is Julia and I'm a sweater addict, what did I do? I got a sweaters quantity. So this will be another sweater because I love sweaters and this way I can even do color work. I'm thinking about doing the new pattern by Ellie of Skandir that is published in the Blooded Garn magazine. It's a beautiful color work sweater and I think it would be stunning in these colors, but again, there are like 100 sweaters that I want to knit that would be suitable in this yarn, so very, very, very excited about that. And I love this deep red. Isn't it just beautiful? It's just absolutely stunning. I love it. So that was supposed to be it for my purchases this week. But then came along my knit along. And I was just reading in the thread of the Happy Sweater Along and someone mentioned a yarn that I had never heard of. They have really, really affordable yarn, like you guys. What they specialize in, it seems, is like really sheepy 100% wool yarn out of like a controlled environment, sourced regionally. Like all the things that I love are made by this company. And like I said, this was way too affordable to be true. So what did I do? I ordered 7 skeins. So again, you can see the details. This I am assuming will only be interesting to you if you're in Germany, but feel free to try outside of Germany as well. Here is their address if you're interested. And they have like a thin and a thick merino, and the thin merino is what I got. And this is German merino, so you need to be careful because the German merino is not like the merino that most of us knitters know. German merino tends to be very hardy. It's quite woolly, so it's not like the super soft stuff that you may think of when you're thinking of merino. But personally, you know me, I really like the stuff. So they have a couple of natural shades. So this is one of their natural shades, which means that the sheep is, I assume, just a dark color. So I got myself 4 skeins of this. I'm not going to show you every single skein because there is no point. And then I also got a natural white. This is just undyed as well. Very, very sheepy. I love it. And then they have quite a few really beautiful colored shades. So I got myself these 2 colored shades. This is all the same yarn essentially, to play around with and knit some color work and some sweaters. And you guys, I love this stuff. I opened up this huge box of yarn and I was just so happy. This stuff, this is what makes my heart sing. Much more so than the beautiful indie dyed skeins. Like all of this was as much as 1 skein of self-strapping yarn, if you're being totally honest here, and I'm not even showing you all of it. This is just beautiful yarn, and thank you so much to those of you who pointed out this yarn to me, because I am in yarn heaven. And if you look at it closely, you can see I would say it's a woolen spun yarn, so it's got the same lofty characteristics that for example, Jamieson and Smith, the 2-ply jumper weight, it reminds me of that. Or maybe even Brooklyn Tweed Loft, except that it costs, like, I don't even want to talk about it. It's just a beautiful, beautiful yarn, and I seriously cannot wait to knit it up. I don't want to completely place my verdict yet because I haven't knit with it, but just by looking at it and playing with it, which I have been doing a lot, I am just over the moon with this yarn. Again, all of this yarn that I'm mentioning, I am not advertising for it. I'm not getting paid any money. I'm not in contact with any of the makers. I just really love yarn. I'm a yarn addict. But that's fine with me. So you guys, that is it in terms of my yarn haul, which I think looking at it now, there's all this yarn in front of me and I'm in yarn heaven. So now, all that I have left to talk to you guys about is life in general, which as usual isn't super interesting. It's been a long week, you guys. It's been a crazy intense week, and I'm foreseeing more weeks like that until Christmas. It's just going to stay stressful. But it is the weekend now, and I have Monday off, which is amazing because usually Sundays always have this whole Monday thing hanging over them. And this time it doesn't, and it's great. So I've had a weekend to myself, which was really nice in terms of getting some knitting time, even though I got way less knitting time than I thought I would. I'm sure you all relate to that. You think, oh my gosh, I have all this time to knit and watch Netflix and podcasts, and what did I do? I went to bed at 10 o'clock. Crazy me, right? Anyways, Kai is coming back today and it's his birthday tomorrow, so I need to make him his cake. I have everything already here, so that's what I'm going to do next. Then I need to wrap his presents, and then I'm not sure if I have the time to record a sweater episode. We will just see how it goes, so either it will be there or it won't. I'm sure you guys will understand. And then, like I said, we have tomorrow off to celebrate his birthday, so I'm very, very excited about that. I'm not really sure what we're doing. We're going out for brunch, and then there is some wedding stuff that we are supposed to be doing. Maybe we'll get around to doing some of it. I'm not quite sure. It's like fun things like picking out wedding rings. Like that's a fun thing to do, but you still need to do it. But I'm feeling pretty good about the whole getting married thing. We still have 4 months to go, and I feel like now we have organized most of it. So that feels really, really good. Very excited about that, and very excited about the thought of not having to do like a million more tasks. And yes, I know those of you who have gotten married before will tell me there are a million things that will come up, and I'm sure you're right. But I feel like the big things are off the table, and like the fun things remain, like knitting my wedding sweater, picking wedding rings. Like that stuff should be fun, most of it. So I think that is pretty much all I have to tell you guys. So I really hope that you have enjoyed this podcast episode. I look forward to chatting to you guys in the comments, on Ravelry, on Instagram, which is always the best place to follow me if you want to just get sort of like random life updates and see what I'm doing. So I think I will see you again next week. Thank you so much for spending the time with me today. Have a great Sunday and have a lot of fun with your knitting. Thanks for watching. Bye!